We're on the third episode of the Lethal Weapon TV show. Damon Wayans is trying to go on a date with his wife and just have some nice family time with her. Riggs doesn't really want to talk to anybody, and there's some drug lords that have an armored car, and they're looking for some money, and there's an older guy, the gentleman that Murtaugh knows. If this all sounds fairly familiar and like we've seen it before, it's because it is. This just feels like a run-of-the-mill episode, like we've hit that stride point where they're not trying to set everything up, create anything. This is just a totally average episode, and that's what it is. I mean, it's enjoyable enough, it's harmless enough in the background, but there was really nothing about it that was particularly memorable. I mean, you've got some action in there, you've got some humor that you're like, huh, that was amusing. You've got enough rapport between the characters, but like the plot line, even though I was watching it, I was like, as I was watching, couldn't remember enough about what was going on to be able to even recite it right now, and I watched it like an hour ago. It just was kind of a throwaway plot. And honestly, if I'm trying to tell you what's good about this episode, I'll say generic things like Damon Wayans is kind of fun to watch and kind of amusing. And the guy playing Riggs, he's enjoyable enough and has a little certain charm to him. But I don't have anything specifically good about this episode. There was nothing about it that really popped. There wasn't like a joke that I thought was really funny or an action sequence that was particularly interesting. It was just kind of like, okay, another episode happened, another day in their life where there's criminals and a gunfight. Here we go, once again. That's all I got to say about the good, and that wasn't exactly a glowing review. As for the bad, it's really what I've already said. It was just kind of forgettable. I mean, in the episode, the thing that really stuck out is that the first 15 minutes really had this subplot about Riggs smoking pot, maybe, or being a pothead that doesn't play out through the rest of the episode, but it's in there pretty heavily, like they're pretty clearly stating he's a pothead and trying to get away with it. And then there's a joke that's so obvious about, it's a gay joke about them being partners that just seemed so unbelievably obvious and forced. But that's because kind of it when it came to what was memorable about it. I mean, it was just such a throwaway episode. And Fox tends to do this with their shows, it seems like. Even shows that have been good and have really interesting premises, like the show Dollhouse from Joss Whedon from like 8 years ago or so. In it, the first couple episodes were very much kind of plot of the week using the show's plot line was about what if you could like treat someone's brain like a hard drive and you'd clear their mind and then you would give them someone else's brain and thoughts and they would go on adventures. And so the first few episodes were just kind of like these throwaway plots of just the most basic version of it, like a millionaire hires one of these people to assassinate someone, a millionaire hires one of these people to go on a date with them. And then the show after the first 6 episodes turned into this really interesting show about what were the actual implications if that happened in real life. What would be the political implications if you could wipe someone's brain and put a new mind into them and all the different stuff that will come with that. And it gets really interesting after 6 episodes. I don't know if that's what they're doing here, but the first few episodes have been very much standalone stories. You could start watching any one of these episodes and be just kind of, oh, it's buddy cop formula. Okay, I kind of like their chemistry and maybe I'll check out another one. That's what it's felt like because they haven't introduced any sort of big overarching story, any grander scheme of things. And at 3 episodes, I'm feeling like I'm going to need a little bit more of that to keep me interested. I just can't have... I'm not going to be interested if it's just throwaway episode after throwaway episode of like more stuff happens. I'm not interested in that. So my hope moving forward is they'll figure out how to do that with this show. And it doesn't necessarily have to be highly serialized where every episode is part of this bigger story, but having serialized elements where there's plot lines running throughout it. There's a drug kingpin who's growing in the town that they're trying to stop. And each week there's a storyline that's resolved in that episode. But you're building a mythology of what's going on. There's things that you can do in TV now that you can binge watch and you can watch on Netflix and you can go back and watch older episodes. That's why TV shows do that now, because you can do it without being lost with the nature of how television was before. You could DVR everything and watch it on Hulu and Netflix. So I'm a little bit frustrated with the show because they're treating it like a show from 1992 as opposed to a show from 2016. They're not taking advantage of the format they have. It just feels like each episode is a standalone mini Lethal Weapon movie that doesn't have a very compelling plot because they got to crank out 24 of these in a year. So it's like, this week there's an armored car. This week there's drug guys. This week there's a guy trying, and you just forget all of it. And so I hope they don't go in that direction. I hope they build a bigger mythology. And it doesn't have to be, the super trendy serialized TV show that's all one big long story like a Netflix binge watch show. But I am looking for taking advantage of modern storytelling techniques, and the television format is how we use it right now. So with that said, we're 3 episodes into Lethal Weapon. What do you think about the series thus far? Are you frustrated by the fact that it's standalone, or is that something that you're actually excited about because it feels retro? It feels like a throwback to older days of TV shows where you didn't have to watch every episode to understand each episode. What do you think? Tell me in the comment section, because I don't want to just talk about TV. I want to talk about TV with you. If you've never watched one of my videos before, please consider clicking that subscribe button if you liked my opinion. Thank you so much for watching.